Alright guys, well good news, I got my mic working, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. Go through the guide with the new script really quick. I already know my IP address, so I'm going to go ahead and go to it real quick. Yeah. And we're going to do basic setup here real quick, hang on. I always forget the initial password. Alright, we're going to go ahead and set up the SD card, make sure it's fully expanded. And I'm also going to change the default password. I'm not a big fan of the long one. Just set this up real quick. Overclocking is personal preference. I like 900 anymore, and my Raspberry kind of acts up. So do that. We need to set up our memory to 16 megs from 64. Give as much as you can to the server. Expand. And I will pause the video for reboots because it just takes so long. So we'll be back in just a second. Alright, here we are again, we're back up. And I'm using SSH. If you're actually on your Pi, that's fine too. But this way here I can record it with a simple recorder. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and follow the guide step by step and get right to it. So we're going to go ahead and go sudo password root, and we're going to set up our root password. I always do that. And I make mine root just so I can remember it really easily. You can do whatever you like. We're going to switch over to root. And basically we're just doing this because the script is designed to go this route. I'm fairly new at script writing, so if there's a better way to go, I mean obviously there probably is, we'll go that route down the road. I'm doing this to learn and kind of expand what I do know. So we're going to switch over to the home directory just in case, and we should be there anyway, but I do it just in case. We're going to go ahead and copy all this because I don't want to waste your time typing it. And most people will probably copy and paste as well. And what this is going to do is this is going to clone the GitHub for the Raspberry Pi. It's going to make a temporary folder, and it's going to change us to that temporary folder and then give it the install script permissions to run. So hopefully all this will be just right. And it should. Okay, we're within temp, and if we actually look, everything is there, so we're going to go ahead and just try to run it, which is the next step of the script. We're going to go ahead and run it, and there we go. So it's asking if you're root. Now, if you follow the steps step by step, and you did su dash, you should be in root. So yes, if you are not in root, go ahead and cancel because you're just going to cause more problems. So we're going to go yes. Now, this is a different install than the last one. This is going to be a guided. Guided is kind of like what we did on the last video, which is step by step, asking questions. You create your own users, all of that. On this one here, we're going to go with more of an automated script, or as I put in the guide, full auto. It's going to put everything in for you. It's going to create a user, going to create a password, everything for you. So all you do is press yes, walk away, come back later on, and you're ready to go. We're going to do that guide now, just so you can see, because I've done a guided, and it's fairly straightforward. So we're going to go ahead and go with 2, which is the automated script. It's going to ask and say, hey, would you like to install no IP, which you should if you're hosting a Minecraft server. So I'm going to go ahead and go no because I'm not worried about that right now, but if you have a no IP, you should press yes. It'll download it and ask you for your information. In fact, I'll show that right now. And it will take a bit for this to go through, I'll tell you that. And that's this right here. And they would ask for your username and password, which is right here. Now, I want it to error out because I'm not going to put all mine in right now. And then the automated script takes off and does everything from here. And what it's doing right here is it's actually doing an update to get all your files. It's going to download Java. It's going to download a few different things, actually. Let me just go ahead and pull up GitHub here. I'll show you the actual scripts. We're going full auto. What it's doing right now is it's actually getting all of these here. We're going to get tar, screen, Python, and our diff backup. Okay, and then it's going to go ahead and download the optimized Java step by step by step. Okay, this will take quite a bit of time, and depending on your internet speed, it will vary. Okay, the next step here I left to where you can see what's happening because I knew if I didn't, people would be canceling the script too early or they'd have more problems, but I wanted them to be able to see how long it would take to download. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. We're going to come back to this here intermittently. Again, this is completely automatic, so now it's really foolproof, and I had a lot of fun making these sets of scripts. In fact, I've been working not so much on the Raspberry Pi lately. I've been working on a machine called a QBox, and it got me thinking how I wanted to redo my script setup and come back to the Raspberry Pi and make it easier for everybody else here, since there's more people using a Raspberry Pi. So anyway, I'll be back in just a few seconds, and I'll show step by step as it goes along. Alright, and here we go. From the powers of video editing, it happens instantly. What we're looking at right now is it's getting ready to download the new Java, which is basically the development version of 1.8.0, the JDK. And like I said, based on your internet speed, it will vary. Okay, mine's not too bad. In fact, it's a lot better than this, but that's as fast as our servers are going tonight. So I wanted this to be visible, because if not, people would be sitting here going, it's not doing anything, and just cancel out. So anyway, when this is done, we'll skip to the next step, okay? Alright, so this is coming to a close here. Now what it's going to be doing right now is just extracting the files. You shouldn't have any errors unless you had a bad download, and if that happens, you'll have to actually go and remove and install Java again by itself. The script won't be much help there. I've only had an error one time, and it was actually on my end. I lost internet connection, so that's, very rare to have happen. So what we're doing now is we're just extracting, and then it's going to bounce right through the next things really fast. In fact, the download process there on the Java and the update is the longest part. And you can do this if you have, say, already installed Debian, or not Debian, but Raspbian. You don't need to do a complete clean install if you don't want. You can run this on anything. I just did it step by step for the guide to make it easy and clear cut, so there's no mess ups. So it's already firing up. It should have started MineOs right here. In fact, you're hoping for an OK. That's great. And we're already done. This is going to be your password right here, and this is going to be your default user. So we're going to want to remember that. Now the system's going to go down here in a second and shut down. There it goes. And we're going to be returned to my terminal, if you will. So we're going to give it a few seconds for the Raspberry to pop back up, and when that comes up, we should be up and running. Simple as that. Can't make it any easier. Sorry I didn't have a mic last time, by the way. I was my simple recorder actually didn't like to work with my mic for some reason. So I finally figured that out. It was a pulse audio issue. What we're going to do now is we're going to get ready to bounce over onto the server. So I want to make sure this is up and running. We're not running yet, so just hang on just a second. And if you don't know your IP address, you can find it very easily by going ifconfig on your Raspberry itself, and then you can SSD right into it, and that information is right here under etho, if you will. It's the iNet address, okay? And we should be up and going. Yeah, it didn't take that long. So we're up and going. You don't actually have to sign back into your Raspberry again. So at this point, you can go to your URL, and you're going to type in https // and yeah, I've already got it there. In fact, that's not for this one. This is for my QBox. This is my address, and you're going to go with a port number of 8080. Now, if it's working, you should get an SSL error. I'm still trying to figure out how I can get this patched up, but this is what it does for now. Just proceed, and you can sign in with the user recreated. Now, if you're not familiar with MineOs, you should go to their forums. I had it above, and see how the user interface works. But I'm going to give you a quick tutorial. We're going to sign in under root always, and you can hide the passwords, but I'm not worried about it for the tutorial. And you're going to be given basically a setup here. Now this is running on Python. It does tax the Raspberry a little bit, so while you're building your server, you won't want to mess with it too much, and it just makes things easier is all it does. It's not something you want to be in while you're playing, because it will slow things down. But we're going to go to Manage Profiles. Now I use a SpyGot server. You can use whatever you'd like, but I use SpyGot. It'll say it's created. Now you have to update it. If you don't update it, you will get errors on Profile trying to create a map. So we're going to hit update. What I like to do is pull up top in a terminal and actually see what's happening. And as you can see, Python is using a bit. Now, wget is just downloading the jar from SpyGot's website. I like to watch this because you don't know if anything's actually working here. The Raspberry Pi is a little slow, and this gives you the ability to see what's happening. And it should come up with a green pop-up here in just a second. Sorry about the delay here. Again, Raspberry. So, alright, there's our pop-up, and this should turn to a check mark saying that yes, it's downloaded and we're ready to go. And any second, there it goes. Now we're going to go ahead and sign out. We're going to go ahead and sign into the user we created, which was Pycraft. And the password that was set up automatically with the fully automated script is just 12345. You can change this in the terminal at any point. It's up to you. It's just set up that way, so it'd be automatic. Alright, so we're going to go to Manage Profiles. We shouldn't be able to see too many here, but we're going to go to Create Server. We're going to create it and name it anything you want. I'm going to go ahead and name it a test. Pycraft should be user group because it is the user. All of this stuff can be edited. I don't actually like that many players on the Raspberry. Less is more. And just going to set this up really quick. Maximum memory. Now, this is kind of tricky because based on what you're doing on your setup, it would change. Okay, now our dashboard showed 392 available. So for us, we're going to go ahead and just say, 380 somewhere in there, or even 400. It's all right, but I've gotten away with over 400 actually at some points, and without any issues. So we're just going to go there. You can have a startup. You can set up your backup intervals, your archives, all of those. That's why I like the UIs. It's easy to manage. So for now, we're just going to go next. It's going to create it and put it right down here. Now, this is the part that's going to take some time, and the best thing to do is bring up top and watch, because since you hit start, you're going to have your Python take over. It's going to sync, which means it's pulling everything down, and then Java's going to take over the top here in a second. And there she goes. Okay, this is building the server. Okay, it's going to take quite a while for your map to be built, generated, if you will. You can kind of keep an eye here in the console, but it will take time for the Raspberry Pi to pull anything up. So best thing to do is just go grab a drink, wait a while, don't refresh the page because it does tax the processor. And when this drops down to a healthy, 30 or 40%, then you're probably built. You can refresh the console and it'll say done on top. We'll come back to that. Alright, we're back, and as you can see by my clock up here, if you go back just like a second, because the internet's nice like that, you'll see that it's taken about 10 or so minutes for this to have happen. Java's been running for about 10.47. It takes time. If you just let it take its time, wait for the CPU to come down, you'll be a lot better off in the end. So like I said, just go get a drink. So we're going to go ahead and check the console again. And it took 526 seconds to finish. So you can do the math on that and see. It did take quite a bit of time for it to finish. So we're going to go ahead and hit server status. Now again, the UI is a little slow because it is using Python and it is taxing the processor pretty good, as you can see here. We're using 100% of the CPU right now. But it does respond, and as time goes on and longer it's up, it does kind of respond a little better. Memory heap is something that's a little, it uses a lot of memory, and you should shut it off at least every night once and turn it back on. Just let it refresh. Now, what I do is I like to change a few of the settings because the view distance is a little high. I don't like as many players, things like that. It just helps out. And what I use is I use FileZilla. Now, on this, we're going to go ahead and shut the server down, which I know you just got it up, but we're going to go ahead and shut it down, and we're going to go ahead and get to where it is, which is on my house. It's 192.168.6.125. Yours is going to be different, almost guaranteed. Now, we're going to sign in under Pycraft, and we're going to put in our password. Now, this is an SPF or SFTP server, sorry, so we're going to be using 22 port as a standard port. It's going to ask you if it's accepted. If you've used FileZilla before, you know all about this stuff. Just hit OK. It's going to bring you to your home directory or root directory. We're going to go var, we're going to go to games, we're going to go to Minecraft, and servers. This is where your servers will be listed. So here's server test. We're going to come down to SpyGot YML file. We're going to go edit and view. It's going to bring it up for us. We're going to scroll down, and I like to turn view distance down. I'm not sure what the minimum is, but I know 5 works great. And the reason I use SpyGot is actually for this right here. It turns off random light updates, meaning if you're not on or you're not in that section of the map, it stops relighting the area. Greatly helps with the Raspberry Pi and smaller or slower machines. So we can close that, hit yes, and it should say successfully transferred. You got it, and it got it back, as you can see. So with that being done, we're going to move up to the server properties. Now you can do this in the WebUI, but it's just easier when you have it up already. And you can come down here, you can change your max players to say 5 people. You can also change, your view distance here as well, but with the SpyGot, it's best to do it with that. And in here as well. That's the way I've read it anyway. If you want command blocks, you can turn those things on right now, which I generally do. And, you know, it's a basic setup. Everybody knows what this is by now. So we're going to go ahead and close that, and we're going to restart the server. And yes, that's fine. This time, it's not going to take as long because it's already generated the world. And yeah, but it still takes a few minutes. Again, just pull up top, sit back and relax. Time is 7:42, so I'm going to pause it and we'll come back to that. Okay, and we are back. As you can see, the second time didn't take nearly as much time, and it says 41 seconds. I always wait until Java comes all the way down to rest, because even when it's done here, you're still at 90%, and you just want to wait and let the Pi, you know, come to rest. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. I'm going to go ahead and close the WebUI, because we're not worried about it. And we're going to go ahead and launch Minecraft. Now, I've already got mine set up for the address, but I mean, everybody knows how to set up a Minecraft address by now, especially if you're watching a tutorial on a Raspberry Pi. So we're going to go ahead and go play real quick and get this up and going. And we'll show you that the Pi does have a bit of a delay, if you will. Here's the PiCraft, as I call it. You can see just by refreshing, Java kicks up. Sometimes, most of the time, when you first connect to the server, you get kicked. It's because it's building the user profiles, things like that, and it causes it to crash. As you can see, it taxes the CPU quite a bit. So expect to crash. Oh well, just reconnect and you'll be right to good and going. There is some delay on breaking blocks when you first start the map, and I've noted that over time, hey, I didn't get kicked the first time, that's a plus. Over time, that disappears. What I mean by that is like right here, we're going to go ahead and count it. See how there's no block? So we've got about, well, it's still there, so we're waiting for it. About that much of a delay, and that's a bit of a problem, but again, this is the first time it's been used. Now, as you can see, the delay is gone. So that's not too bad. And this is when you first get logged in, and you might see that a few times, but it goes away, I promise you. Now, the interesting part is, as time goes on, you know, this will balance out. Okay, let me show you something that's interesting, though. If you go to the WebUI and go to the right one here, and I gotta opt myself really fast, so we're gonna do that. Okay, go to console. Oops. Apparently it did not sign me in. Hang on just a second. Alright, sorry about that. It was because the Python, which is, like I said, using the WebUI while you're playing Minecraft, is a little bit hard on it, and as you can see, we're waiting for this to load, where it would have already loaded on a regular computer or even on the MineOs. It's quite fast on there, so I definitely give those guys props for building this UI and the way they've set things up. So I'm going to go ahead and bounce out of Minecraft real quick and try to get this to pop up for us, because there it goes. Again, it's just because we had Java running in the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to give me ops really fast. Okay. And it should bounce over into our map here real quick. Let's see if it wants to. I think I'm rushing it along. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and it seems there's an update going on in the background, so hopefully that won't bother us too much. The interesting thing I found is that, now you see I'm kind of in the ground. Give it a second. When you first log in again, you expect some delay, and there it just popped me up. So the delay goes away fairly quickly. Now, if I switch to game mode 1, creative mode, there's 0 delay even when you log in. And this is something I found that was kind of interesting. That and again, like this, you get this slight delay when you first pop on. Wonder what's going on here. This is not refreshing, sorry. Okay, so when you first pop on in regular game mode, you get somewhat of a delay, but not in creative. They perfectly work fine. So if you want to create a map for friends, say, and you want to just use a Raspberry Pi for this idea, it's perfect in creative mode. If everybody has ops and you just want them to build, just have fun. There's no problems with that whatsoever, and that's something I hadn't noticed in any of the guides or anything. Nobody really brought it up, so hopefully that can help some people out here. So we're gonna go ahead and switch back, and again, as you can see, we've got our standard delay. That delay does go away over time, but it does come back if you go far away. So you can see the chunks up top being loaded is just, you know, barely anything. If we move clear over here, you know what, let's do this so you guys don't have to wait forever. Let me get me a nice shovel. Okay. Alright. Bounce clear over here. I'm going to use my shovel and I'm going to dig a hole. See, the delay wasn't bad. You know, and it's gone now. So it's very usable. For a small group of friends, maybe 2, 3, up to maybe 5, yes. But you want to make sure people stay close together. No large biomes. Keep it very, very minimal, or you're going to have problems. Because after all, it is just a small little Raspberry Pi. I mean, they are good, but there's only so much the little CPU can do. So I've gone a ways away, and we're going to see what kind of delay we have. We don't have any delay going on, so that's good news. So let's go ways away. Whoa. Okay, now we actually have a delay going on right there. I don't know if you've seen it. The server took a while to update that I actually tried to switch commands to creative mode. So we're going to move a ways away here. We're going to go clear over here, and we're going to switch it back to regular mode. Because as I said before, creative has no problems. So we're going to go up here, and we're going to go back to regular game mode. Now, as you can see, it hasn't popped up in the bottom left corner. This means that the server's actually taking its time figuring out what we asked it to do. And that's just the CPU being overworked, okay? It's going to happen. If you know, it's just like a little 1 gigahertz processor, and it's only running at 900 megahertz right now. So we're waiting for it to update that I've actually changed game mode. Again. But in creative mode, 0 problems. But look here. So yes, it's very usable, but you should keep your map fairly small and keep it condensed, because when it starts having to update chunks or build or generate more to the map, you're going to end up with this. Okay, so keep a small town, keep a small little village, and you're going to be perfectly fine and happy with your Raspberry Pi. And as you can see, that's how you crash it. So, okay. Other than that though, the guide is about the script, and if you can set up a small little village, you're going to have no problem with this. So I hope you enjoy your Pi. Yeah, let it have its time. But yeah, so if you have any comments or questions, make sure to leave them down below or on the forum, which is obviously on raspberrypi.org. And good luck. Keep your map small. Keep your friends together. And if you want to play in creative, that's awesome. If not, that's fine too. But enjoy. So have a good day, guys. Thanks.